and then I'll give you some things that we can work on in class together. So HTML and CSS, right? And configuring your environment. Learn some basics. Know how to use some tags. Know how to use some CSS. Do some formatting. That's all really good. You've already got some pretty cool skills. Be able to build that surfer page, right? With this hands-on challenge right here. Hands-on exercise. So the next step in learning how to do web programming, three steps, okay? We just did 3 steps. Configure your environment, some basic HTML, some basic CSS. Cool, we got 3 steps. Now we're going to do the next 3 steps, the next chunk. So the next chunk is going to be, first of all, structuring your document. And then after that, we're going to create an outline. And then after that, we're going to do some layout. Okay? So structure your document, create a good outline, and then build some layout. So those are 3 separate skills that you have to know and learn. And so structuring your document is, we have a document, and we're going to structure the content in that document into different little sections. So that's structuring the document. What does that look like in reality? You might be like, okay, what's that look like? It looks like this. There's a document where the content has been structured. We've put some of the content into a header, into a footer, into a side, into a section, into an article. Structuring a document, that's the next big step. Or we might have done it like this. Header, nav, section, article, aside, footer. Kind of interesting just to compare one to the other. Well, these people up above did header. They didn't have a nav. And then they did section with an article nested inside of it. The people down below just did a section and an article. And then there's the side over to the right and the footer down at the bottom. Those are the same between those two. Well, let's compare these two. All right, header and nav, they both have that. Section and article. This person did a section with 2 articles in it, and a side and a footer. All right, well, what about up here? A section with one article. This is a section with 2 articles. Interesting. Let's compare that one with the next one. So header, and then they did a nav, and the nav has a header. Interesting. And then they did an article, and the article has a header, and the article has two sections. So up above, we had a section with 2 articles. Down here, we have an article with 2 sections. And then we have a footer, header, footer. And we have an aside with 3 sections. These were just asides. And then we have a footer. Oh, my dear Lord. That just looks a little confusing. How many people that doesn't look confusing at all? Cool. So you know how to structure all that. How many people you look at that and you're like, what do you use when and where? Article can have sections. Sections can have articles. A side can have sections. A side can't have sections. So that's the first step, is structuring our document. Figuring out what content goes within what tags. And these tags are called semantic tags. Semantics, what are semantics? Don't be so pedantic. Pedantic, semantic. What are semantics? Semantics define, semantics are relating to meaning in language or logic. Okay, that's semantics. So semantic tags relate to meaning in language or logic. So these are semantic tags, and they relate to meaning. They convey meaning. So if I tell you something's in the header tag, you can automatically think, okay, that's going to be at the top of some region, the head of the region. If I tell you something's in the footer tag, it's going to be at the bottom of some region. If I tell you something's in the div tag, what is it? I put something in the div tag. What is that stuff in the div tag? You don't know, right? So that's not semantic. A div is not semantic. These are semantic. If something is in an article tag, you can assume it's what? It's an article. Okay. So the first thing we do is we structure our documents and we get content into the right tags. And we have to learn what these different tags do. So let's have a conversation about that. So here are the different tags we're going to use. And we're going to have an exercise where you will have images So here's an image. And then I'm going to say which tags would you wrap around certain content. And you will either print this out or do it in Photoshop or something and do it with a pen. We're going to do this right now in class. And so here is my solution, right? Where like right here, I said, okay, this is the main area, and it's going to be an article, and this will be heading 1, and this will be a figure and a fig caption, right? So I've structured the content on my document. Step 1 is structure your document. Step 2 is create the outline. Step 3 is lay it all out and get it organized on the page. So we're working on getting our content into the right structure on the document. So you're going to do this in just a second. So to do it, we need to have a conversation about these different tags and where we would use them and how we use them. Software engineering is an engineering field. It's engineering. Engineering requires a little precision. Okay? If you're working for some crappy car company, what's a Chinese car company? I don't know. Give me a crappy car company. Huh? Daewoo. There we go. I've never heard of it. They'll use any old bolt they find. We need a bolt. Okay, there's a bolt. Stick it in. If you're working for BMW, the manufacturers of the ultimate driving machine.
That's a crap car. My dad had one. They spent more money fixing that piece of shit than it was actually worth. If you want a good car, go with the Japanese brand.
How do you feel about it, really?
Yes.
If we are working for Toyota, we're working for Toyota. We, as engineers for Toyota, would know about bolts. There's more than one bolt in the world. And different bolts are made with different metals. And different metals have different characteristics and properties. And we need a bolt that, for this one situation that has a certain amount of strength. And we need to tighten on the nut onto the bolt to a certain amount of pressure. Right? And we'll measure that, and that's what good engineering. But to do that type of engineering, you have to have intimate, detailed knowledge of the different components with which you can work. Right? And so to do the correct type of engineering building a web page, you have to have intricate, detailed knowledge of the different components with which you're going to work. You can just do shoddy, crappy work. And you could just use divs all over the place. Divs all over the place. Div ID header instead of using the header tag. Right? That's crappy work. Now I'm throwing stones at somebody who's made a really successful company, so right? But that's not using semantic HTML. Can anybody think of any argument in favor of not using semantic HTML? Why would Reddit build it this way? What's the argument? Huh?
Didn't it make it harder to read through the code doing it that way?
Semantic HTML makes it harder to read, or divs? Yeah, because who the hell knows where I'm at? Is divitis, div soup.
Probably because it was legacy. They built it, and then HTML5. I mean, it's been out for a while.
Yeah.
So they just never went back. They probably have some system that pushes the HTML together.
That's what I was
They
thinking.
just never redid it.
That's what I was thinking.
I would think that putting it in an organized fashion would make it far easier to read, and then if someone needs to go in and do something, it's far easier to find where they need to go to do whatever they need to do, whether it's fix it, add, delete.
What I would say to that is that I don't think even professionals I've seen write HTML are still writing divitis. So the idea of semantic tags is still becoming known. I'm glad that you're covering it because many HTML classes at other places don't. They don't talk about the importance of it. So I think it's still becoming something that people are just understanding.
We don't have enough people with OCD doing HTML.
Well, that's not true. It's just that they don't understand why and where.
You're awesome, dude. I love it. We've got some life in this classroom. That's so cool. Thank you for your energy and your passion and your opinions. I really appreciate it.
I know just based on my own coding, I still do everything with divs. I've just just in this class, it's just been, my opening to the semantics. And, I can see where it would be more structured and easy to look at, but quite honestly, I don't like people knowing my code if I don't want them to. And if I'm using div tags and then using the CSS to class them or ID them, they're going to have to look hard to copy my code.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how many people will go and hit that little button to view source and steal your code. So.
But real quick, one of the main reasons for semantic coding, if I'm understanding correctly, is what you want to make for disabled, or enabled screen reading, things that sort. That was the main reason for that, correct? For semantic, to make sure semantic your aid, because with vision impaired, that may render something differently. And correcting that, or that more than what it does.
Yeah, so accessibility is definitely one of the reasons we want to use Semantic HTML, and it's helpful with screen readers. It's also for maintainability, so it's going to make your code more readable, unfortunately also more stealable, maybe, right? But your code will be more readable, so that when you go back to code you wrote a while ago, you'll be able to understand it more easily. If somebody inherits your code, they'll be able to understand it. And then it also, and obviously it's a mystery and we can only speculate as to how search engine algorithms do what they do, but it's my speculation that it's going to help your page rank. Because search engine firms, aka Google, they're the largest ones, 65%, 2/3 of the market share, right? They, and here's that, Google, 2/3 of the market share. Like exactly, 66%. Right? But Google, they're software engineers, and they're looking to deliver quality sites to their customers who come to them to find results in search, right? Well, how's Google gonna qualify what is quality and what is not quality? One of the things I imagine they're gonna do is to look at how the code is. Was it well-built code? And there's probably a correlation between well-written code using current modern standards and whether or not the site's a quality site. Right? Because if somebody's putting up a crap site, they'll likely have crap code. If somebody took the time to care enough to use Semantic HTML, to have a good outline, which makes your site more readable by machines, and then also to use other stuff like rich snippets, micro formatting, whatever. I'm trying structured data. That's the other thing I was thinking of. Structured data. That's going to help your rank. And so I think those are some of the reasons for Semantic HTML. But great discussion. We looked at like why, would Reddit not do it that way and why might we want to? And I think that the answer is that Reddit was built before Semantic HTML and they just kept their, their code and didn't really change it. But today.
Enough, I just did a search on the code for Google.com. No semantic.
No semantics at Google either. You get big enough, it doesn't matter.
Right. It's like,
I don't know, but like the search box, maybe the results. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because there's been a push for Semantic HTML, but a lot of books don't teach it, a lot of trainings don't teach it, and a lot of people don't use it. But it's really kind of like, it was like the big thing with HTML5, like Semantic HTML. So it's a disconnect for me a little bit, but I think that we should try to use it. So let's talk about it. So header. For you to do this exercise, you need to understand a little bit about these. Anybody have any insight into header? You know header already, you know something about it. You want to share it? So a header is a group of introductory or navigational aids. Could hold that. So introductory aids, navigational aid. May contain heading elements, but also other elements like a logo. Must not be a descendant of a header, a footer, or address. So a header can't have a header. A footer can't have a header. An address can't have a header. So that's a header. And then we have nav. And nav is a section with navigation links, as you'd expect. But you don't, not all links within a document need to be a nav element. The links may link to other pages or parts within a page. and it's intended for major blocks of navigation links, right? So the footer element often has a list of links that don't need to be in a nav. And then there's main. It's for the main content of the body of a document or application. Content's the central topic of a document or the central functionality. Should be unique to the document. Can't be a descendant of article, aside, footer, header, nav. Only one main per document. And when I say document, that's interchangeable with web page, page, document. And then we have article, and we have section. So the easiest way to understand article and section is to think about a newspaper, right? So in a newspaper, don't read the screen for a second. In a newspaper, you have different sections. You have, the world section, you have the business section, you have the entertainment section, and in those sections, you have different articles. Cool. So we could have a section that has a bunch of articles in it. The world section could have a whole bunch of articles in it. And each article, so let's say there's an article on Africa, and Africa could have like a section that's like economic development within that article. And within that article, there could be another section that's regional conflict. So one article could have sections in it. Right? So a section can have articles, and an article can have sections. And the difference between article and section is kind of just like that in the newspaper. So always come back to this newspaper analogy. And articles can stand on their own. Articles can stand on their own. So you could take an article, and you could take it out of the newspaper, you could cut it out, and you could post it on a board, and people will understand that article. They could stand on their own. If you took a section out of the article, regional conflict, and you posted it on the board, just that section, people might read that section and be like, well, what's the rest of the story? Right? Sections can't stand on their own. So that's the difference between an article and a section. So what's an illustration of that? One of the solutions I had, this one? No. This one? So one of the solutions I had said, hey, here's a section. It's not an article. It's not going to stand on its own. And it's got a bunch of sections in it. They aren't going to stand on their own, but that'll take you to other stuff. Right? So an article is self-contained composition, independently distributable or reusable. It can stand on its own. A forum post, a magazine or newspaper article, a blog entry, an object, other independent item of content. So a good illustration of that is right here, this MDN example. So you come into the documentation, go over to examples. There's an entire, you could search MDN element reference, element list, and it'll bring you to this page. Here are all the elements in HTML, 110 about. Some of them you don't want to use, right? Like this one's been trash canned. I wanted to say it the way my uncle said it before he passed. He used a different word instead of trash can. He said it. That one's been trash canned. This one's a thumbs down. Right? So if you look at those, right, that's been deprecated. It should no longer be used, but will probably still work. So they leave things which are old in there to, if you inherit some legacy code, you're like, what is that tag? You could go look it up and see what that tag is. The blink tag, by the way, was invented by a guy who was drunk, and he's like, wouldn't that be crazy? Let's do a blink tag. So he built the blink tag. It was like when the web first started. You could Google blink tag history drunk bar and read the story. Kind of funny. Blink tag history drunk bar. The origin of the blink tag. Sometime past midnight, returned to the office and built it. He was at the bar, left the bar sometime past midnight, returned to the office and built the blink tag. So the reason I came here is because we were going to look at article. So over here in this list, we have article, and then we have examples. I'm going to do a Command F to search this page and search it for article to highlight everywhere article's listed. And here's a really nice example of articles and sections. Okay, so this is one big article, and it's a film review for Jurassic Park. So up here at the top of the article, we have a header for the article, and then we have a section where the content of the article would be. Because this article has two sections. Here's one section, which is the article, actual article, and here's the next section, which are reviews from people. So this is called, class main review, section user reviews, and then in here we have different articles. Each user reviews an article, and the user reviews have footers. And then you could target each of those elements from your CSS just with a, targeting the tag element, tag element. I sometimes say tag, sometimes I say element. These are two tags. Those are the paragraph tags, the opening paragraph tag and the closing paragraph tag. This is the paragraph element. Okay? It's like automobile and car. Very closely related. So that's article and that's section. And then we have an aside. So article, let's just look at this. Forum post, magazine or newspaper article, blog entry, review, right? User review. Object, any other independent item, content. Section. Article and sections both typically have an H1 or an H6. So we saw that in that example. Then we have an aside, which is for like sidebars, advertisements, the biography of the author. We have a footer, which has information about the author of a section. Copyright data, links to related documents. And then headings. Headings convey importance. H1 is the most important, H6 is the least important. Headings and subheadings, right? So that's headings. So you've learned about these tags. Header, nav, main, article, section. Header, nav, major navigation. Main, one per page. Article, section, stands on its own. Article stands on its own. Section, think about the newspaper. Sections, articles, sections. An aside, advertisements. Footer, author information, who wrote this thing, or copyright data or links to related documents. H1 through H6, headings, a figure and a fig caption. Figures are for like images, graphs, and then you could nest a fig caption inside a figure. Image, illustration, diagram, code snippet. So you can nest a fig caption inside a figure. So you have these examples. I want you to open up these documents. Do you guys want me to just go print them, photocopy them for you? How many people want to print out? How many people want to do it digitally? You can just do it on your computer. Huh? What's the easiest? I don't know. Is Photoshop on these computers? I don't think it is. Huh? Paint? Paint will open them. So let's paint can be a little hard. I'll go make a couple of photocopies. And I'll pass them out. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, can I print here? Oh, cool. It's going straight over to the business division office. How many people do not want to copy? Raise your hand. You want to do it digitally. Raise your hand. You're doing it digitally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so I'm going to make 2, 5, 10, 15, 22.
Where's the figure?
The printer's just over here. You asked where the printer is?
No, the figure. Where do we get
The figure.
it? The image.
Oh, the image is on this list right here, Semantic HTML applied. You remember doing this at boot camp with Ray Villalobos?
We also did this in the tax one too.
Oh, did we?
So this is not under your assignment. This is something you have in class.
Yeah, maybe I'll add it in too so people could upload it. Take a picture of what they do and upload it. I think I will. I think it's a good assignment. I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab those papers. Let me stop this recording.